Hey everyone, Emma here, also known as 8vinyllow, bringing all of you another video. Today's video is going to be a response to the youngest members of the VC Vinyl Tag 2024. It is Vinyl Tag season, and I know that there's a bunch of different tags out there, different genres, the general tag, and so on. But over the last couple of years, I've really only done this one. Now, the youngest members of the VC, you guys know the drill here. I'm going to give the little spiel. That includes myself, Dylan at the Record Spinner, Jenna at Spins and Needles, and Marichen over at Marichen's Music. We consider ourselves the youngest members of the VC, just kind of an inside joke. And over the last few years, we have compiled kind of our own vinyl tag and had some fun coming up with a bunch of different questions and putting this together. So this year was no different. We decided to put our brains together and see what we could come up with. So this is my response to that. We came up with 20 questions. Each person submitted a handful of questions and we kind of mixed and matched, and we are going to go from there. So if this is a tag in vinyl tag season that you are interested in participating in, please feel free to do that. This is not just exclusive to us. This is just something that we ended up putting together, questions that interest us or relate to our group and so on, but obviously is welcome to anybody that is interested. So without further ado, here is my response to the youngest members of the VC Vinyl Tag 2024. Question 1, show a New Orleans related record. I have to go with this one. I know that Dylan chose this one as well, but this was the first one that came to mind. I'm going with Preservation Hall Jazz Band. This is A Tuba to Cuba. As many of you know, the youngest members of the VC, we went to New Orleans last summer for our yearly trip. And this was definitely the highlight of the trip for me. This is the thing and the place that I was most looking forward to. Going to New Orleans, obviously New Orleans, just a beautiful historic spot to kind of navigate, fun spot, especially when you're hanging with a group of friends. But Preservation Hall, just in general, New Orleans, yes, but Preservation Hall has been on my music bucket list for a very, very long time. And so to have had the opportunity to experience that, go to Preservation Hall, watch a show there with my best friends, that was something that I will truly never forget. So the first one that came to mind, there's a lot of different options I could have chose. I could have chose some Fats Domino's, Dr. John, so on, but Preservation Hall, this was the first one that came to mind. Number 2, show an album that describes how your 2023 went. I ended up going with this compilation record that came out. This is the Beach Boys' Good Vibrations. So it obviously has Good Vibrations on here, but it has a lot of different mixes and releases of that song. It has the original single version, various different sessions and alternate takes, but the first thing that came to mind when I was thinking about 2023 was just good. It was such a good year. The beginning of 2023 was very interesting for me. I was 25 at the beginning of 2023, so I was definitely going through like a quarter life crisis. You know, I was happy, but I was just thinking a lot about life. And I decided at that moment, you know, I really want to practice being more grateful for the things that I have. I'm healthy, I have family and friends that love me, I have a great job at a great school, I love what I do, and so I want to be more grateful. And as that attitude started to shift, right, they say that this is going to happen, but it definitely did for me, I started to just feel happier. And so many great things happened to me in 2023. I just met so many incredible people. I had a great time, especially like fall 2023. I had a great time. I've had a great year so far teaching. Obviously last summer we had the youngest members of VC. We went to New Orleans. So many amazing things happened to me in 2023. So I had to go with Good Vibrations. I just felt good vibes through most of that year. And I hope that that continues on in 2024. Number 3, best release of 2023. Of course, I'm going to go with this, and many of you are probably not surprised with this choice, but I am going to choose The Midnight Callers' Rattled Humming Heart. Usually, sometimes, some years in the past, I have done a year in review and kind of shared my favorite albums from this year. I didn't really have time at the end of last year to do that. For 2023, but in terms of my personal favorite album and the one that I think is the best release of 2023, Midnight Callers' Rattled Humming Heart, super fun album. This was an album that once it came out, I couldn't stop playing it. I played it all the time. I played in New Orleans. I got my friends into it. I got family into it. So just a super fun record, well put together, power pop, old school rock and roll feel. I know I've talked a lot about this on this channel, but if you're new here or you're not familiar with this band, definitely recommend checking them out. The Midnight Callers, so unbelievably great. Number 4, show a band that you saw live in 2023. There are a lot of different bands that I had the opportunity to see live in 2023. Hopefully I will get around to kind of a recap video for that. I've been meaning to do that, but we'll see. But the last band that I can think of that I saw in 2023, I saw the Nielsen Trust, Rick Nielsen's family band, but I'm not really going to get into that right now. I'll share that experience later. But the one before that, December of 2023, a band that I knew of. I've known this band for a while, since their EP came out, and I was a fan. I'm a huge, when their EP came out, I listened to it all the time. And then they released a couple of albums and a new album, and I didn't really get a chance to listen to much. I just knew they were a great band. They were playing in Illinois, decided to go see them, and I have to say I was just blown away. First off, the band sounded just so tight. They put on an amazing show. The engagement with the crowd was incredible. So I'm gonna stop blabbering here, but that band is Dirty Honey. This is their newest release. I believe it's called Can't Find the Brakes, which is a great track off of this album. Don't Put Out the Fire is another great track off the album. Won't Take Me Alive, Satisfied, Ride On, Rebel Sun. Just a great old school rock and roll band. Has that kind of Black Crowes, Aerosmith feel to them. But like I said, if you ever have the opportunity to see this band live, please take time to go see them. Their albums are great, their recordings are great, but this is definitely a live band. So definitely someone and a band that I saw in 2023 that I will for sure see again if they come near me. Number 5, an album that you bought at a concert/show. I've bought a handful of different albums at concerts and shows. And as I was going through, I was thinking, okay, what's something that I don't show a lot on this channel? Because I could have shown Bob Mould. I've shown a lot of him recently. I could do Buddy Guy. I just did Dirty Honey. So I'm going to go with an album that I probably have only shown once on here. But a couple of years ago, I had the opportunity to see this man, great electric blues player, Robert Cray, one of my favorites. I had the opportunity to see him. I actually was front row for that show and ended up meeting up with a fellow VC member, Jeff Kempen, and his wife, Cor, and just a phenomenal show overall. I talked about it on here before, but I did end up picking this album up at the show. They were selling these, and the really cool thing about it is that it was signed. So very cool pickup from a show, definitely one of my favorites. Number 6, show a 2024 release that you are excited about. There have been rumblings about a vinyl release of this album. I saw a pre-order on Amazon. It looks like it might be a record store day release for 2024, but either way, I think it's coming, you guys. Tinted Windows. If it is true, if it truly is getting released on vinyl this year, this is definitely what I'm most excited about. Number 7, show an album from the year you turned 24. So this was a couple of years ago, and I have to go with an old classic here. We're going with Cheap Trick's In Another World. Came out when I was 24 years old, so a couple years ago. Light Up the Fire, The Summer Looks Good on You, Give Me Some Truth, and more. This one's on limited edition, blue and white splattered vinyl. I did a whole video about this when it came out, but this was obviously the first one that came to mind when I saw this question. Number 8, show your favorite album turning 50 in 2024. There are so many great albums that came out in 1974, so there are so many 50th anniversary things that are probably going to occur this year, but I have to go with an album and a band that I have just been digging so much over the last few years, and that is Radio City by Big Star. 1974, doesn't get any better than that. Number 9, what would you love to see come out for Record Store Day this year? Obviously, I would love any type of Cheap Trick release. They were going pretty strong a handful of years ago with their Epic Archive releases, and then it just kind of stopped, and they haven't had a Record Store Day release since. So that was something that I always look forward to on Record Store Day that we haven't gotten the last few years. So I would love to just see something. If I could pick anything in the world, I would love to finally get Cheap Trick 1997 on vinyl. If it can't be this, then I would love to get Rockford on vinyl or something like that. Bunny Carlos, he has kind of a bootleg series on YouTube. You can look it up, Bunny Carlos bootleg, and lots of different recordings of alternative takes, outtakes, just live shows that he has been posting over the last year and a half. So I recommend checking that channel out. If you haven't, I'll link it down below, but maybe like a compilation of that or a box set even if they wanted to go that far. I don't know how many people would be interested. I know I would. But anything Cheap Trick related, obviously, I would love to see for Record Store Day. Number 10, show an album that deserves a box set. Enough said. Number 11, most played record in your collection. If I had to choose something else just to mix it up a little bit, then this one is probably I don't know if it'd be close second because I play 77 all the time, but it's a second. Probably my second most played ever. Blues Breakers, John Mayall with Eric Clapton. You guys know, if you've been watching me, I adore this album more than anything. So, and this is the actual copy that I listen to the most. This is the Sundays reissue, mono. Sounds so good. Number 12, show a favorite Lazy Sunday album. You have to do one with sun in it. It's a Sunday album, right? This was the first one that came to mind. Great kind of just relaxation, chill out, do nothing record listen to. So much fun. Sunflower by the Beach Boys, and this version just sounds absolutely incredible. This is the Analog Productions reissue. Number 13, show a favorite album from your childhood. I've shared this story a couple times, so I'm not going to get really that into it. I know that I've talked about it a handful of times in different videos, but you can see, okay, so the album is Beware the Ides of March. This is their live album. I don't remember the year. I'm trying to get the year. 2002, this came out. The Ides of March band out of Berwyn, Illinois. Still around, by the way. Jim Peterick of Survivor, Ides of March, 38 Special fame, and so on. This is the band Ides of March that got me into music. Jim Peterick is the guy that I would consider, you know, my top guy. Obviously Cheap Trick, but Jim Peterick's the reason why I'm talking into a camera, talking about music today. And the Ides of March, they're that band to me. So you can tell I've had this CD forever. I think I got this when I was like 8 years old at a show. You can see it, the case is kind of cracked a little bit. It's old. I played this album so much growing up. You know, and it's a live version, so I can tell you every joke that's said, when the audience is gonna start clapping, I can tell you everything that goes on in this album. It's 2 discs, so it's a rather long live album, but I love this so much. If you guys ever come across, and it probably not, it's out of print now, but if you do come across this at any point, please pick it up. It is worth it. So many great songs on here. Ides of March songs, 38 Special songs, Survivor songs. Just a great album to listen to. Great band. Number 14, show an album that you consider to be a hidden gem. I am going with Miles Nielsen presents The Rusted Hearts. Some of you in the Cheap Trick sphere know who Miles Nielsen is, of course, the son of Rick Nielsen, but a wonderful musician in his own right. It definitely has that Nielsen gene, same with Dax, who is also Rick's son and current touring member, drummer of Cheap Trick. But This album is phenomenal. If you're into that kind of Americana sounding singer-songwriter-esque feel, this is a wonderful album. He has a couple of other albums, him and his band. They put out one a few years ago that was really good. They have one called Heavy Metal, which I also really love, on top of some others. But if you're gonna go or start anywhere, this is the place to start. In terms of Miles Nielsen's catalog, this plays as a greatest hits, so definitely a hidden gem. Number 15, show a recommendation you were given that you have fallen in love with. I've had so many recommendations that I've fallen in love with. So many different things came to mind when this question came up. It could be Bob Mould stuff, it could be Sunvolt stuff, it could be Jason Isbell, it could be The Wallows with Marichen. I mean, it's so many different bands that I've grown to love because of the vinyl community, because of friends that I've made and suggestions that have been given. So I'm gonna choose one of my most recent recommendations that I have played a handful of times already, and I just got it about a month ago. This was from legendary Jim, Santa Jim. He sent this in a VCLT box not long ago, and I have just been playing the absolute crap out of it. This is a band called Hurry. This is a power pop album, a great power pop album that came out either last year or the year before, but it's called Don't Look Back. And as I kind of mentioned earlier, I cannot stop playing this record. Just another fun listen, and I really do love it. So thank you, Jim, for sending this my way and putting this band on my radar. Number 16, show the album that made you fall in love with a specific genre. One of my favorite genres is the blues. I love the blues, old school blues, electric blues, folk, I mean anything, blues related. So what is that album that I heard for the first time, specifically the song, that made me just fall in love with the blues genre? The song is The Thrill Is Gone, off of B.B. King's album Completely Well. I heard that song for the first time probably around 14, 15 years old, somewhere around there. And I had never heard anything like it in my life. Still, I mean, I still feel the same way that I hear that song, The Thrill Is Gone, and it gives me just goosebumps, it gives me the chills, just takes me to a whole different place. So that is the song, and this is the album that got me into the blues genre. And once I really started to fully commit to record collecting and buying records a handful of years ago now, this was one of the first albums that I added to my collection. 17, show an In Case of a Fire album. So which album would you save from your collection in the case of a fire? Well, I'm gonna go with my Cheap Trick cube. All of my Cheap Trick related records are in one cube. I know exactly where they are. I would just grab one of my crates or boxes, and if I had about 30 seconds, I could get them all in there, lift them up, and go. If I had to choose one album from that stack, if I was 2 seconds away from the house exploding or something like that, and I can only choose one, I'm gonna go with the latest from 2009, but I truly think that if I had just a little bit of time, I could get all of that cube in a crate and out the door. It is also the closest one to the door, so that is intentional. Number 18, show the best sounding record in your collection. I always come back to this one. There's nothing that sounds like this. This was a recommendation from Jeff Kempin. This is Muddy Waters Folk Singer, but this is the Analog Productions versions. And as he's mentioned, as I've mentioned before, it genuinely sounds like Muddy is in the room with you. There's no record that I have listened to over the last handful of years that compares to this experience. So if you are in the market for this album, for some blues, get this pressing. Analog Productions, Muddy Waters Folk Singer. Number 19, show an album that you love now but didn't like on your first listen. This is gonna surprise a bunch of you. The album is one of my favorite singer, songwriter, musicians, guitarists of all time, Bert Jansch. Handful of years ago, I stumbled across this album for 99 cents in a thrift store, and it intrigued me, and for $1, I picked it up, brought it home. Sat in my to-be-played crate for a handful of months, finally got around to playing it, and I wouldn't say that I didn't not like it. I had never heard anything like it before in my life, just in terms of his playing, and is probably the reason people struggle with Bert Jansch, I would say. His voice was so different. I mean, it's kind of the same thing with people that struggle with like Bob Dylan's voice. The same thing, I kind of struggle with Bob's voice, but not really. But the first time I listened to Bert Jansch, I was like, whoa, like I did not like it, but it was just so different. And so I was like, okay, this is interesting. And so I played it. I was like, all right, put it away. I revisited this album a couple months after that, played it again, and something clicked. The track off of here that, same with The Thrill Is Gone, that just gave me the chills, gave me goosebumps, is a song called Poison. It is my all-time favorite Bert Jansch song. Please listen to that song at some point in your life. Do yourself the favor and do that. But it just clicked. And I have been in love with this musician ever since. I am a completist. I will try to collect anything that is reissued or that has been put out. I just adore this man and his playing. So, and now I love the voice. I figured this would surprise many of you. I do love sharing that story. You never know. So if you listen to something and you think, oh, this isn't for me, or I don't know how I feel about this, keep going. You might still feel the same way months from now, or they could become one of your favorite musicians or songs or albums ever. So keep trying. Never give up on music. Just keep going. Keep sampling things. Keep listening to recommendations, because you never truly know. So Bert Jansch, Birthday Blues. I love this album. And the final question, number 20, what is the last record you purchased? I actually just grabbed this over the weekend. I went to go see Buddy Guy play his January residency at his Legends Club in Chicago with Jeff and Core, and I ended up picking up his newer release, which is The Blues Don't Lie, and he actually signed it for me after the show. So definitely one of the coolest sign albums in my collection. I had met Buddy once before during his shows and got some pictures and posters signed, but I knew this would probably be the last time seeing Buddy live, and I'm a record collector. I needed a signed album, so I ended up going this route, and I'm really happy that I did. That concludes my response to the youngest members of the VC Vinyl Tag 2024. Again, open to anybody. If you do end up responding to this tag, please let me know down in the comments below. I would love to check it out and see some of the albums that you chose to respond to these questions with. I hope that all of you are doing well. We've had a lot of ice here, different ice storms and just bad winter weather here in Illinois over the last few weeks. So if that's you here in the Midwest, or I know that there's just been a lot of weather-related things happening across the globe. So just make sure that obviously, right, all of you are staying safe. I hope that all of you are doing well, and I will see you all for my next video. Bye, guys.